Okay, it's 7 o'clock. I'd like to call this meeting to order. I ask everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Jay?
Here.
Sarah?
Here.
Eric?
Yep.
Nancy?
Here.
Andrea?
Here.
Ross?
Yes.
Okay, all of you should have received a copy of the April 7th, 2025 council meeting minutes. Any corrections or additions?
Make a
Motion
motion?
approved.
I have a motion to approve by Nancy, second by Eric. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Second item, approval of the 2021 Committee of the Whole meeting minutes. Everyone should have got a copy. Any corrections or additions? Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion.
I have a motion by Jay. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Sarah. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Absent.
And we have one abstain from Ross. Motion passed. Administrative reports. I've been asked by a council member, I've been asked by some citizens, and I've been asked by some of the staff members to take the time and explain a couple things to the public because it appears there's a few people that don't fully understand how government works. One of the biggest things out there is annexation. And with annexation, we have a process in place. First of all, I'll start by saying Commercial Point's a statutory village. We, in being a statutory village, we are dictated by the Ohio Revised Code. We're not a charter, so we don't make up our own rules. We have to do what the ORC says. When we start doing annexations, when people come up and request to do an annexation, in the state of Ohio, there's 5 types of annexations. You have a regular annexation, you have a municipal annexation, you have an expedited type 1, expedited type 2, and an expedited type 3 annexation. Typically in Ohio, probably about 80% of all developer annexations are expedited type 2 annexations. The reason for that is when you get ready to do it, those are just the names of the types of annexations. You pick which one most likely applies to you. On an expedited type 2 annexation, most developers choose that. The reason for that is it means all the property owners wish to be annexed. And typically with a development, you have one property owner who's the developer. He's wanting to be annexed for services or whatever. So that's why that's the most common type of annexation in the state of Ohio. When developers come to us, Commercial Point isn't out looking to annex people. We have developers approaching us because they're typically wanting water and sewer services. So when we get a application to annex, in fact, what first happens here in Commercial Point is we'll have a developer come in and we'll set them up, we'll do a meet and greet with them. They'll come in and meet the staff, generally myself, the village administrator, zoning administrator, fiscal officer, and they'll want to know, well, is there any interest? Is there any, do you have water? Do you have sewer? Where would we tie in if we did come in? We generally hold these meetings, the staff, and it's an administrative meeting. After that, generally the second step we do is we bring the developer in here in front of the council at a regular council meeting. At that point in time, they'll come and put on a presentation to the village council. They'll explain to the council what it is they're bringing in, what types of homes, houses, all that type of stuff. After they do that, we generally go around, we'll talk to the council. Are you guys, and take a little brief poll. Are you interested? Do you want to move forward or do you not want to move forward? If the majority of the council says, yes, let's move forward, we go on to the next step. If the majority says no, I generally tell the developers, well, they're not interested. You can go ahead and do what you have to do, but council's not really interested. What we have done is if council does show interest, well, then the next step is the developer files an annexation with an annexation application with the county commissioners and with the village at the same time. Once that is filed, the county commissioners have to hold a public hearing, or they have to schedule a public hearing within 45 days of that filing. The Village of Commercial Point, once it's filed with us, per the Ohio Revised Code, we have 20 days to pass a service resolution and get it down there to the county commissioners. 20 days, that's it. So what we wind up with is when council gets a service resolution, typically we have one meeting a month. And when we do our council meetings, we'll meet first Monday of the month. And if it's a typical piece of legislation, whether it be a resolution or an ordinance, we'll do a first reading at 1 month. The second month, we do a second reading. The third month, we do a third reading, and then council votes on it. Once they vote on that, it takes 30 days to take effect. It doesn't take effect that night they vote on it. It doesn't take effect until 30 days after that. So as you can see, that would take at least 3 months to get something passed and take effect. The ORC requires us to do it in 20 days. So what the village has to do on annexations is when it comes in here, once it's filed at our next regular meeting, the council basically, to meet the Ohio Revised Code, they have to waive all 3 readings. If they don't, they miss the window, they're in violation of the ORC. The second thing they do is they have to pass it by emergency measure. And you'll hear us read off the titles of different pieces of legislation. If when we read it, at the end of that title, if it doesn't say "and declaring an emergency," that means it takes 30 days to take effect. If it says "and declaring an emergency," that means it takes effect the moment council votes on it and passes it. So that is why a lot of people think, well, you pass this stuff, it's an emergency, you waive the readings, you're trying to jam this down our throats and all this. That's the farthest thing from the truth. Every municipality in the state of Ohio, any village that annexes, has to do this. We do it with all of them. If we don't do it, we're in violation of the ORC. We have to get our service resolution, a completed, accepted service, in effect service resolution, to the county commissioners in 20 days. That's the only way it can happen, and that's why they pass them as an emergency measure. Once it's passed, county commissioners get it. The commissioners, like I said, they had 45 days to schedule a public hearing. Public comes in, they talk to the public, they get their, they got the service resolution from the village and the people who, however they want to run their meeting, whoever they let speak, and that's all fine. Then they make a decision. But when they make a decision, they are not voting to annex. They're voting to allow the village to proceed with annexing. So there is a difference there. If they pass something, that doesn't mean the annex is over. In fact, quite the opposite. They have passed stuff and it's come to the village and the council's turned down the annexation. So just because they pass something doesn't mean the annexation is going to happen. Typically it does, but stranger things have happened. So once the county passes if they approve an annexation, then it comes back to the village. The village has to let that piece of legislation lay dormant for 60 days. So for 2 months, nothing happens with that legislation. Council doesn't discuss it or anything. It's out there. It's laying there. It gives people, I shouldn't say council won't discuss it. It lets people have a chance. Hey, there's legislation laying there and council's going to be voting on it coming up. Typically, after the 60 days, that legislation will come up in front of council. We'll do a first reading. And we, like I said, we only have one meeting a month. So then a month later, we do a second reading. A month later, we do a third reading. And that at that point in time is when the legislation is voted on. Council is required with a piece of annexation. I believe we have, 120 days?
We just extended it to that.
Yeah, so we have 120 days to annex. So council's allowed 4 months. We typically take 3, but then the law doesn't take effect for 30 days. So you're really taking 4 months there. It's laid dormant for 2 months for 60 days. So you're looking 6, and the county does everything at the beginning and scheduling their stuff. Most annexations will take anywhere from 6 to 8 months. So when people start saying, well, you're jamming this down our throat, that's not the case at all. And with our most recent annexation we've done, the Struckman, or didn't do, this was actually brought to council back in 2021. That's when this whole thing came. 4 years ago, this came in front of this council. And it was discussed. Council went through the process. They passed the service resolution. It went down to the county. The county commissioners approved the service resolution. It came back to the village, lay dormant 60 days. We started through the process. And at the 3 months after that, when the council voted, they turned it down. So the developer had went through all their stuff, and we went through all of our procedures, and it was voted down by the council, which is fine. So that whole process took, like I said, 6 to 8 months. About a year later, year and a half later, the same developer came back, said, I want to try it again. They came back, they went through the whole process, filed it. Council went through our 20-day process, got our resolution to the commissioners. The commissioners held their meeting. The commissioners approved it a second time. That came back to the village a second time. We let it lay for 60 days. We picked it up. We started our readings. At our second reading, the developer said, I don't think I want to do this, and he pulled it away. So it went away again for the second time. Now we've had this year, I'm not sure the exact date it was. Well, yeah, it was. It was filed in March. The developer filed, actually prior to March, the developer came in, met with us, met with the administration, said, I'd like to try this again. I said, well, you need to go out and talk to council because you know what's happened the previous 2 times. Developer comes out here. He did a presentation on the board, showed everything he was going to do at the meeting. Went through, talked to the council. Council said, yeah, we'd like to move forward with this. So it's like, file your application. Here we go again. So the developer filed his application. We passed our service resolution like we'd done twice before. Went down to the county commissioners. This time the commissioners rejected it, which that's their right to do. They can do that. That's not an argument with me. So they decided not to allow the annexation. So the annexation stops. But this stuff that's being posted, a lot of it is very incorrect. A lot of people don't understand the process, and I get that. It's not the simplest thing to understand if you're not dealing with it on a constant basis. But, you know, and if you're not aware that it wasn't happening until 2 weeks before a vote came up, I can't do anything about that. That doesn't mean we're jamming anything down your throat by any means. We're following the process that we're required to do by the state of Ohio. And that's pretty much how the whole thing has went through. Second thing I've noticed, we're getting some people saying we're not being transparent. I think we are probably the most transparent. In fact, I will say we are the most transparent council in Pickaway County. There is nobody else in Pickaway County that's live streaming their meetings like we are right now. There's nobody else in Pickaway County that you can go back and watch the live streams of their meetings for the past year. Nobody. City of Circleville doesn't do it. Asheville, Bloomfield, nobody's doing it. None of the townships. And then when we get to the City of Circleville, they do voice record. They'll take a voice recording of their meeting, and you can go online and listen to the voice recording. They don't have the audio or the visual, but they have the audio. Nobody else does that in the county. The township trustees, Scioto Township trustees, they used to record theirs. And a couple trustees said a couple things that they shouldn't have. They got caught, and they quit doing it. So now with the township, Scioto Township, if you want to know what's going on, you wait for a month till they approve the minutes, and then you'll see what their version of what went on is. That is exactly how it's going on. So as far as transparency, I think we are by far the most transparent. And the third thing I'd heard about, someone was saying wasn't posting our agendas. Our agendas, the council gets a council packet, typically the Wednesday, sometimes Thursday prior to the Monday meeting. Once the council gets their agenda or their council packet, which contains the agenda goes online typically the next day. A lot of times our agendas are not set until that Wednesday before we're getting ready to do something. But they are all posted online, generally Friday at the latest prior to a meeting. I've heard some people say that our agendas didn't explain much. Well, you ought to go check out the county commissioner's agenda for tomorrow morning for their meeting. Their first item says conduct business. Their second item says Sheriff Hafey report. And the third item was a report from the dog warden or something. That's what their agenda said, 3 items. Conduct business. We're at least showing what the business is and what we're going to do with our agendas. So we're trying to put the information out there. We post our meetings on our sign out front. If you sign up on our app, Commercial Point Connect, it'll tell you, hey, they're having a meeting at this night, and you can click on it and you can watch the meetings. It'll take you right to our YouTube channel and you can watch the meetings. So as far as transparencies out there, I'd say we are the most transparent in Pickaway County. So I would encourage everyone to kind of do some homework and fully understand. I mean, we're following the law. We're being transparent. We're trying to tell everyone what's going on. And just to see some stuff out there that I've seen over the past couple of months is pretty much disheartening more than anything else. And I guess I understand if you don't understand the process. I get that. But to start making comments and posting when it's like, what you're saying is the furthest thing from the truth. And I'd like to encourage everyone to, watch our stuff, see what we do, see how we conduct business. And if you have any questions, call the village and ask. I mean, I've received some emails and I believe I've answered all the emails that I've received. I mean, call the village and ask if you don't understand something. If you think something's being snuck in, call and say, hey, why did you do it this way? And they'll transfer you probably over to me and I'll gladly explain it to you. That's not a problem, but it just, I think we get this misunderstanding of what's going on or how business is being done. I know they was talking about, well, we want you to rescind a resolution, your service resolution. This council has no reason to rescind it. What they passed told the county commissioners what we would supply, what services we are capable of supplying to a developer. It was capable last month, it's capable tonight, it's capable tomorrow. I know there's been some things said, well, you don't have the water or sewage to supply the development, the Struckman development. We have a water plant that's less than 3 years old. Does 1 million gallons a day, and I believe we'll hear in the report tonight, it's probably averaging 400,000 gallons a day, treating 400,000 gallons, and it's capable of treating 1 million. So water isn't a problem. Sewage, we have a plant that will currently, our current sewage plant will do 440,000 gallons a day. It's capable of treating that. We're averaging 390 to 400,000 gallons a day. So we're not the capacity on that. But at the same time, we're in the middle of turning on our brand new sewage plant, and it will do over 2 million gallons a day. It takes 30 to 45 days to turn a plant on. That process has already started. We're in the middle of that. So if the county commissioners would have passed the Struckman Farms thing, and it laid dormant for 60 days, our new plant, it better be online within 60 days, and someone's going to be answering to that one. So we've got the water, we've got the sewage. Our service resolution said we'd supply police protection. Commercial Point right now, we have 2.5 officers for every 1,000 people. The national average is 2.4. City of Columbus is 2.04. So we're above average in number of officers per person for police protection. And we got another officer who we're bringing in next week. So that even takes that ratio down a little bit more. So what we've said in the service resolution is correct. How we've conducted our business is correct per the ORC. And I understand, our application for the annexation was filed after the committee of the whole meeting in March, but prior to the council meeting. And the way the 20-day window works, we had to hurry up and get it out there. Yeah, it was hurried up to get on the agenda. The state law requires us to do that. And it requires every village in the state of Ohio to do that. So we're just doing what we're required to do by the state of Ohio. I think those things need to be said and get out there. And I understand, if you still disagree with stuff, that's fine. And that's the way it should be. We all should be working together, and some of us agree up here, some of us disagree. But we need to understand the process. Don't argue and say things that are completely 100% not true. This is the process. If you disagree with the housing project coming in, that's fine. No problem with that. But I encourage you not to be carrying on trashing the council or the village or anything else when we're doing what we're supposed to do up here. And all these people sitting up here are pretty much volunteering their time. Yes, they are paid, but very little to be putting up with this. And I know there's been a lot of hard feelings. There are people getting upset, talk with people walking out the door and everything else. That's the last thing we need for our village at this point in time. With that being said, that'll conclude my mayor's report.
Thanks, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
We'll move on. Village solicitor's report.
I will just echo what the mayor said. If we didn't have an emergency, we would have called a special meeting. Special meeting, most of you in the audience would never know about. There'd be a sign out there, there'd be an announcement, and there'd be half of you here. I've been doing this for almost 40 years. We've been advising municipalities for over 100 years. This is one of the most transparent organizations there is. There's no secrets down here. It's a small, tight-knit community. You wonder about annexation. People want to be here. Developers want to be here. Folks want to send their kids to schools down here. They feel safe down here. You are in a time where there's going to be tremendous change over the next 20, 30 years, and there's no stopping it. Most of you who are my age or older know what Grove City was. You see what it is now. Columbus has grown and the suburbs have grown. You've got a council here that dedicates, 2, 3, 4 days of every month to coming out and representing your interests. They're happy to hear your interests. I see that they vote based on your interest. If you all care to change what's going on, there's an election coming up. There's going to be 4 seats open. I think that you have to be careful about what's happening with the mayor, the administration, and this council. You're going to drive people off council. You're going to lose people that have experience. And I think that everyone needs to work together, especially in a small community like this that's facing tremendous change coming up. There's no stopping the change. It's coming. You have to control it as best you can. You have to get proper people in place, and you have to help the growth be the growth that you all want in your backyard. We're not talking about putting another prison in. We're talking about housing. We're talking about business development. You've got 3 people here that dedicated extra time to put together a land use committee, and people weren't showing up. If you want to be part of the solution, sign up, get involved. They need your help. They don't need to be besmirched on Facebook. They don't need to be told they're doing things wrong. These are people that are working for you. They're not working against you. And that would conclude my report, Mayor.
Can I ask a question to Bill?
Yeah.
Bill, could you by chance address, and I was waiting on you to tell us that we received a threat of litigation when somebody points out the quote illegal things we're doing, and if we don't do this, that. Can you explain that we weren't trying to silence them and why we handled it the way we did to make communication?
Anytime there's litigation threatened, I am not going to allow any of you to speak personally, speak as a council person. It all has to go through me. And that's for liability reasons, insurance reasons, and my professional duty of responsibility to each and every one of you. I'm not going to allow you to be drawn into someone threatening litigation and speaking out against a person or entity that does so. It's happened twice since I've been here, and I've done the same thing to all of you both times. There's no comment. That's what courts of law are for.
Thank you.
Anything else for the solicitor at this time? Okay, thanks, Bill. Police chief, we have no report from him this evening. Actually, he's on vacation this week. Move on down to
Al, can I make a comment on the
Sure.
police? I don't know if everybody here knows, but this is Officer Blynorth that we brought on a while back. And full disclosure, I was hesitant at first, but I will say, was a couple weeks ago, he was just on what most people say routine patrol. And due to him being aware of what's going on, he saw a car that he knew that was being looked for. He turned, I'm going to use the word pursuit. I don't know if there was a pursuit or not, but he stopped it and he caught a juvenile that had been stealing Hondas and Kias.
Yes.
In our village and terrorizing the village. And I mean, that's what we need. That's what we want. And everybody that says they aren't doing their job, I am the first that have given them a hard time, but I also want to be the first to say, nice job.
Thanks, sir.
Yeah, I guess as far as the police report, I will say, we brought on our most recent officer came in and he had been here for 2 weeks. He was looking for someplace possibly a little slower than where he came from.
Nice try.
Yeah, nice try. He came in, he was here for 2 weeks, and in 2 weeks he was involved in 3 high-speed chases. He wasn't driving, he was just riding along with the guys. So 3 high-speed chases went down. They managed to catch the people and caught the stolen cars and drugs and everything else coming out of the cars. So there's a whole lot of stuff going on in this town that a lot of people don't realize. And our officers are definitely in the middle of all this stuff with the drugs that were coming through, the stolen cars that are coming through. There's a lot of things going on in town that most people just don't see or hear about. And it's not something we typically go around advertising. Hey, we've had so many cars stolen this week. That isn't what you want in a village report, but that, or a high-speed chase. And I don't know if it's the weather, or I think a lot of it might have to do with you go to Franklin County and you do something wrong, the cops won't chase you. You're just, you give it the gas, they turn around, turn the lights off and let you go. That's not the policy of Pickaway County. Our officers would be engaged. The county's engaged, South Bloomfield, Asheville. You come this way, they've had helicopters out and everything else, the highway patrol. We don't just turn the lights off and look the other way. That's not how we do business around here in the Pickaway County. So, like I said, good job. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mine will make a comment, sir.
What?
Mine will make a comment.
Sure.
Just kind of referencing the comments that have been made about us being on 104. And that's probably it's the topic of concern with some people. This is where we're finding all of our drugs. We're finding national warrants. We're finding OPIs. So basically, when people are traveling south of Franklin County, they're seeing us sit out there and they're avoiding our village. That's the idea behind it. And we're trying to be proactive and not reactive to what's going on, what's passing in the village. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on, village engineers report. Susan?
Thank you. Just give you some
Okay, Chief.
updates here. Starting with Foxfire. So Foxfire Phase 4, that's the next phase. We've reviewed the plans, provided comments. They addressed the comments. Everything looks good. So that's progressing. So that's Foxfire Phase 4. Looking at the industrial park, you've probably noticed we have some tilt-up panels on our lot number 5. We call that Kevlar.
Yeah.
We now know that's BJ's distribution. So that project's moving along quite nicely. Borer Road, we had looked at the sidewalk estimate to continue the sidewalk along Borer Road. We did an initial layout, presented it to the administration. Weren't a huge fan of us crossing the street, so we've done a second layout. We'll have that ready this week. We can show that, kind of see both options and which one you prefer. And then also Belshazzar, we kind of presented to the administration preliminary layout based on initial conversations. We had some great feedback, so we're making some tweaks and changes to that, kind of better defining some on-street parking areas, which will be beneficial. And once we have that new layout put together, we can share that as well. Any questions for me?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We missed the village and.
Okay, we'll back up and we'll hit now the village administrator's report.
You already gave it earlier. You gave the important number.
Just a couple things here that I'll echo the mayor's statement. Our average daily flow for April for the water plant was 450,000 gallons a day with a capacity of 1 million gallons. So still some surplus there to work with. The current average daily flow for the wastewater plant was 474,000 against a 440,000 gallon capacity. Wet weather, I&I, those kind of issues. The new plant, we're already pumping sewage to the new plant, getting it fired up. May 14th is supposed to be when we actually turn it on and hopefully get some discharge. So we're moving it, and that'll take us up over the 1 million gallons worth of wastewater capacity. Just, if you talk to anybody in the wastewater industry, it's tough to keep all the I&I infiltration out of your plant. With this last bit of rain, we did have some issues there. The other issue, street sweeping. That is scheduled now for the first week of June. There will be notifications and so forth sent out, but first week of June, we just start street sweeping. That normally takes 2 or 3 days, something like that, I believe. And then mosquito spraying is scheduled for the last week of June. Boggs Pest Control is done for us. They do South Bloomfield, so they're familiar with the area. But that's scheduled for the last week of June. It will be done at night. So just, you'll also see those on the calendar, but I want to keep everybody informed and make sure council's aware in case any constituents would ever call you, got the information for them. And once again, the wastewater treatment plant, it'll be a big day. When we finally get everything up and running, I'd like to invite not only council, but all public, if you want to come out and see it. It's going to be a great looking facility. We've got a great looking water treatment plant. You should see what you've got and what council has put together on it. I'll commend not only this council, previous councils, also previous administrations. One thing that the village was very cautious about doing, they never put the cost of development on the back of existing users. That's a big point for them, and been very successful. There's not many, I know there's no villages in Pickaway County that are in a strong financial situation that the Village of Commercial Point is now. And that's something that this group and previous administration and councils should be commended for. With that, all good.
Any questions for the village administrator?
Yeah, can you, if Mike or somebody gets a chance, can we by chance check all the ADA mats? I know Main and Hickory is broken in half again, and I think this one over here is broken, just to make sure we
I
stay.
haven't placed the whole village and looked for any broken.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, with the weather change, they're gonna crack. And I had asked you a few months back about Main and Hickory, where that drain thing is, where it steps off. I didn't know if you ever had a chance to.
I went over and looked at it, trying to come up with the right proposal for it, but yes, I did shortly after you and I talked.
Okay, because I know we're
When I
getting to,
saw it, I could see what you were talking about.
we're getting to where more people are going to be out. I didn't know if we needed to mark it or something, but yeah, that ADA is definitely like half missing, the red mat.
I agree, thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question too, sorry.
No.
I haven't heard, seen, talked to anybody, so I don't know, so I'm just asking, is there any update on Walker Point and the ditch cleanups or the trash can at the park?
I sent a notice to Marina Homes.
Okay,
Rich Connie was one of them.
Uh-huh.
Rich was supposed to get back. I've not heard him. That's been shortly after we talked.
okay,
Rich is good about getting back. I've not heard, but yeah, I did make him aware that we need to get something in there.
okay,
And that's something that's HOA.
okay,
They didn't take care of it and provided the vehicles for it also.
okay,
So yes, I did. I'll keep you informed on
okay. And then what about the ditches? Has anybody done anything about that yet?
you mean District Walker.
Yeah,
As soon as we can get the mud to stop.
yeah,
And I don't
Great.
use that for an excuse, but we did have a track machine over there and it was just destroying
Okay.
everything.
All right,
So it's on the agenda when we get to stop.
Yeah, that's
we'll
fine.
take care of
I
it.
just wondered. Thank you.
Anytime you have questions, feel free to call me direct.
Okay, thank you.
I had one more thing about Walker, just because I live right on where that was taking place. So the cleanup was discussed, but I wanted to bring it to your attention. Recently with all the water, and I know things are all backed up everywhere, but I don't know if there'll be more, I don't know, maybe drain cleaning out of that big stream ditch, because it was almost cresting at the very bottom of where that stream is. So if you're in my backyard, it goes way down to a point,
Okay,
and the lowest point of the stream was almost cresting over.
okay.
And that impacts my lot and my neighbor's lot, and then some other ones that butt up.
Okay.
So
When you look down through it, is there things in the way of the ditch that still haven't been cleaned out yet? Or-
I didn't get down there because it's so wet, but I was just thinking, I don't know if you guys can look and see if there's anything blocking it or clean it out in addition more, but I just wanted to bring it to your attention. It's really hot.
Okay, don't want that, so I appreciate it. I'll have Mike come maybe walk it right now,
Sure.
just kind of get a feel for it, and then once it dries up a little bit, we'll get in and try and correct it.
Perfect,
Yeah,
thanks.
thank you for bringing it up.
No, not at this time.
One thing that I need to, as recently as this evening, I was reminded we're still having some issues out of Chestnut Commons at the pond number 3, the retention pond where, where the spillway was worked on and where we had the farm field problem with the tile.
We've been working with the farmer.
Right.
The HOA has certainly been patient. I've had conversations with the engineer that designed it, Watcon Engineering.
Yeah.
Worked with them as, I've got an email back from them as soon as late as just today. Also, the people at D.R. Horton correctly have been involved in it also. Without going through exactly who I'm talking to, but yes, that is very much on the agenda and being worked on.
Okay, I just want, thank you.
Yes.
Anything else for the village administrator?
Super popular tonight.
Thank you. Thanks, John.
What-
You're free.
Okay, zoning administrators report.
We had a nice aggressive little month here, but in April, we had 20 new builds, 17 patios, and 6 facilities. Also reminded everybody that it is grass season, and we had to hand out about 18 violations of untall grass. That means that to be a foot or more to be tall. So with that being said, guess what? We only had 3 that didn't make it. Everybody else mowed the grass, took care of it. So I applaud the village for everything. They've been really great to handle it. So other than that, you got any questions for me?
Jim, have you been making a rounds for the new pump dates for the ponds? I noticed a couple of them don't have their fountains and stuff on yet.
And I wrote down the ones we had to get a hold of and that need to generate their bonds. Got one, I think it's Foxfire, where one is on and the other is off, so call them, we're gonna get taken care of that.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Jim. Fiscal officers report.
Oh, that's boring.
That's excellent.
Okay, we'll move on to legislative reports. Nancy?
Yeah, I just wanted to, I think the mayor did a great job of explaining everything, but
Yes.
I just wanted people to know that, we are all human up here, and the things that have been said about us on Facebook is very discouraging, because we work very hard, and like Alan said, we don't make a lot of money. And we try to do what the best thing to do. I voted no on it, but still, we're all being lumped in as, like we're these horrible people. And this is a selfless job. It really is. And you hear a lot from people calling you this, saying you're taking money from developers. That's one thing that was spread out there. Okay, that's just, none of us up here are like that. We actually have, a conscience, and we would never be that way. And back to our meetings, there are no backdoor meetings. The mayor's very transparent with us at COW meetings. He will tell us, okay, I met with so-and-so, this is what we discussed. I've even gone to some of those meetings, you know, to hear what they're saying themselves. So I just wish people would really watch what they say, because bullying is a really bad, you know, we talk about it in our schools, but then we see adults doing the same thing on Facebook. And I think you really need to take a step back and see what you're saying and call in here and get the facts. You know, you can't rely on someone out there just saying what they feel the law is. You know, we have a solicitor here, and we have our mayor that's very knowledgeable about everything. So I just hope after this conversation that it puts a lot of your worries to rest a little, and how the process works. We're very transparent. Like you said, you know, we never know what's going on with the township meetings. They're not posted, they're not recorded unless, you know, Scott goes and records them. The zoning meetings at the township, there's no agenda posted of what they're talking about. It's not recorded. You know, we legally don't even need to stream these, but we do because we're transparent. And if anybody's ever called into the office to answer your questions, people have reached out to us. If we don't know the answer, we'll try and find it for you. We have nothing to hide. I was born and raised here. Okay, a lot of places where homes are now, they were woods. Okay, I used to climb trees, but that's growth. You have to do it in a right way. And I think another thing that wasn't said about this development is this, you know, they say all 1,200 homes are coming all at once. This is a 10 to 15 year project. And we're not even at zoning yet. When zoning, if it would have been approved, we annex it. When we get to zoning, we can say, well, we want more green space, because we've done that. We want mounds and trees. We've done that. Parks. You know, yes, we've had them take out homes. We've said, oh, well, we don't want townhomes here, or we don't want apartments here. That's all come in the zoning. And I don't think a lot of you understand that. And that's not anything against you. It's just that you've not worked in this position before. So I just want everybody to just please, if you have any questions, please call in here instead of taking your concerns to Facebook, because we will not respond to Facebook. Because it can be interpreted different ways. It can be twisted different ways. So I just want you to think about that. That's really all I have to say.
Thank you. Ross,
Nothing, thank you.
Sarah,
I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I will say, just to say what Bill said, there are 4 seats coming up at the end of this year. And I would, what's that? Oh, so I would just encourage any of you who are interested in this to try it out, because it's a lot harder than it looks, because it's a lot of emotions, it's a lot of pressure, and it's a lot of, you know, decision making that's very difficult. So that's
You're
all.
supposed to say it's fun.
And it's really fun. It's really so much fun. I forgot that part. I'm so sorry. I forgot that part.
okay. Thank you. Eric,
Yeah, while I was getting ready for this meeting, I actually learned something, and I wanted to share it with not only council, but the people that are going to speak tonight. According to the revised code 12122, which came from the 1992 Attorney General's opinion, the 92-032, we do not have to allow anybody to speak at our meetings, period, the end. We go a step further. In some places, we'll allow constituents. We go even further, and we'll let anybody stand up there and say anything. I mean, there was a meeting, I got beat up personally for about 11 minutes by people. We don't have to. And if the public comments would ever, and the mayor will tell you, I came to him and asked if we could remove them when I first came on, unless it was a public hearing where we have to. But that section of Ohio Revised Code 121.22, so if you fact check me, I want you to do it right, is something that we do that I'm personally against, because I do get $75 a meeting. So I want to make sure I get all my dollars per hour. But I mean, that is something that we can take away, but we don't want to. So as you're speaking, just think about the people maybe before you, if you're filibustering, that maybe they'll want to speak about something that affects them in their house, and that could be taken away. That is not a threat. That is just, I didn't know that. I thought everybody had a constitutional right to speak at a public meeting. And this week I learned that I was wrong. And at least in the state of Ohio, unless Bill corrects me, no government body has to allow anybody to speak at a public meeting. That's all.
Okay. Audrey?
Two quick things. Just a reminder, because things have come up in the last year about zoning. If you guys want to have anything extra added onto your house or done, I know I'm going to have to see Jim because I would like a raised garden and I want to make sure that I'm abiding. So if you ever have a question on, can I do something? Just call and ask. Paula will put you in contact with whoever, or find Jim. Sometimes I see him out at food truck things. But, you know, if you see one of us in public, usually we'll talk to you and answer your question. But yeah, don't forget to ask about zoning, because I would hate for somebody to do something and then legally we have to say, you can't have it because you didn't get your permit and you didn't abide by rules. And it really sucks because time and money and all that. Secondly, I want to just say one thing for me. I had no idea, plain talk's easy to understand, that solicitor was a fancy name for attorney. So my favorite part about the council is we have an attorney. So if I ever feel like I'm doing something wrong, Bill jumps in. And he's corrected us on a lot of things. So when we make decisions, I usually am confident that it's not something that's going to go against the law, because I've got Bill, and then Eric's kind of Bill Jr. with his ORC quotings. I've never seen someone be able to rattle off ORC code like Eric.
We're not relations.
Just
I'm
in-
much better looking.
Anyway, to get back to it, I appreciate having legal counsel. It makes me feel confident in my thing. And publicly, thank you, Mayor, for taking time to explain everything to everybody. When I was new to council, I came on in 22. I had no idea about anything, and the mayor was really nice. He took like 1 or 2 afternoons out of his normal day to sit down with me and explain things. And then I ask a lot of weird questions in meetings. If you watch it, you're like, what is she saying? He will answer them, and Bill will correct me. So we promise we want to help. That's Paul.
Okay. Jay?
I got a couple things. I don't really want to take anything away from the mayor, but everybody needs to understand there's 6 votes up here, and there's only 6 votes. The mayor has absolutely no vote. The only time he gets a vote is if there's a tie. So he really doesn't have any say in what goes on. He's the one running the meeting, getting us to where we are. But the only people that are voting are the 6 people on the council. And I've read a lot of stuff this week about the mayor doing this, the mayor doing that. Well, it was flat wrong. I don't know whether it's a bold-faced lie or it was just wrong from ignorance. I don't know which one it was, but it's very uncalled for. I mean, most of the stuff we're reading online is extremely hurtful. A lot of it is illegal, the way they're coming across. And it's just, they don't know what they're talking about. And they really need to spend some time getting organized, reading things, listening to things. Once again, the other thing was, don't want to be the dead horse, but there's going to be 4 seats up. And let me tell you, they had trouble the last election filling 2 seats. Okay, we had 2 write-in candidates because we only had 4 people that were willing to run. So, and I'm telling you, once you sit up here for a year, 2 years, 3 years, and get beat up on the internet, or when you're talking to people, or when they come to the meeting, there's not enough money for this. There really isn't. I mean, it's brutal. I don't mind anybody telling me something that's true. And if you want to talk about things that are true in the way that they are, I'm okay with that. But when you bold-faced lie, or you just don't know what you're talking about, you need to get some kind of education, because you're not doing anybody any favors. And that's about all I got.
Okay. Moving on down to committee reports. Up first, Parks and Recreation Committee. Nancy?
this is the fun part. Well, y'all know we had to cancel our farmer's market because Mother Nature had other plans. So our next one is June 7th. It's right out here behind the building. We've been bringing in the food truck to join that. We have lots of vendors, probably there's over 50 of a variety. Produce will be coming in here soon. So I just wanted to let everybody know that, that's the Park and Rec, that's our volunteer time. And this takes a lot of work. This is outside the spectrum of anything we do here, but I love it. I just love it. We have food truck. Our first food truck festival is June 21st, and that's in the downtown area from 4 to 8. We'll have a band there, so it'll be a good time. The next thing we kind of discussed in our committee meeting, I wanted to bring it to you guys and see what you thought is, we had the Hometown Hero banners. Some of them are still standing. We wanted to kind of bring that back. And then we also wanted to bring in like some veteran banners of like some of our veterans that are from here. Of course they would pay for the banner. It would go, I think last time it funneled through the office, of course. And then if my memory's right, Wendy, the brackets came out of our budget, correct?
We paid for the brackets, but the banners did not come through us. They went through that other organization that did.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if we wanted to start one, we already know South Bloomfield, I got in touch with who makes their banners, and they funnel it through their municipal office. Then since you guys are, Paul and Wendy are bonded, that would be where the money would go through. So I just want to get some people's opinions on what they thought about that. I think it would be a nice look for the town to kind of celebrate our veterans. And
I'd say decorate the poles with anything we can celebrate from the people that have or do live here.
Yeah.
I
think it just looked really nice.
Yeah.
And then sometimes we can switch them out, like Grove City has, we can have our logo, Commercial Point, the flags coming in. So there's lots of things that are going through our mind right now, but I kind of wanted to get your feeling on things like that.
Are you talking about putting them on all of the poles going up here or mainly down near the park?
Well, my original thought was veteran flags at the park. But then Sarah said, well, it'd be nice to just bring, them through the town.
Okay. Yeah, I think it would look really good even along, some
I just wanted to
trail
make
here.
sure that we were clear on where we were hoping.
Yeah.
I was at the meeting, but I'd like it
Yeah.
stated
Yeah.
for everyone to hear where we're wanting
So we'll
banners.
have more information for you about, we already kind of budgeted it, but costs change. So we'll have something for you, maybe at the CAL or maybe at the next council meeting.
Would that be something that's already in your budget for this year? or would
Yeah,
that
we
have
already
to be-
put it in the
Oh,
budget.
okay.
So,
Okay.
but I want to make sure costs are the same because Sarah had to work on that to get the quotes for us. So that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Nancy. Land Use Committee,
Yes, we have a member that needs to resign due to life. And at this time, I'd like to make a motion for Jay to become our third member of the land use, as Sarah has to resign due to life changes.
okay. Have you received a letter of resignation from Sarah yet?
Not yet. I need to send it via email. And then
Okay, because at the CAL meeting, she had said she was going to resign.
yes. And then
So-
I haven't sent an email because
Okay,
life.
well, then I'll rescind that until it's official, but
When we get your official resignation, and then we can go ahead and just do the next council meeting, if that's where we're at that time.
if we end up needing a meeting before that, is he allowed to come just and not sit at the table in the
Meetings
meeting?
open to the public.
So we can just hold it with two and just, okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure we were okay if we did it that way in the meantime, because I'm trying to nail down a meeting that works, and I didn't know who to loop in. If I loop him in or I loop you, So,
Sure. The Land Use Committee spends a lot of time trying to make sure what our community is going to look like 25, 30 years down the road. So they're spending a lot of time to trying to make sure we're not going to put commercial in with residential and all kinds of, just have a mess. So people don't understand it. People know, as you said, nobody's coming to the meetings.
Well, we've had
Well,
Couple.
2 or 3. We have one that comes every meeting. As a matter of fact, honestly, if we ever add public to it, I would love for him to come on officially, but
Absolutely.
unofficially, yeah, he's put his 2 cents in probably more than we'd want, honestly, a lot
And
of
it'd be
times.
nice to have some other people. It'd be nice to have other people come to the meeting, and discuss it so that everybody knows what's going on in the community. When they're in the process of looking for a company to help us put this together. But it's a long-term plan, just like we talked about the Strucker Farm being a 15-year plan. We're looking for this for probably a 30-year plan, so we know what's going on, so people just don't come in and a contractor come and say, we want to buy this and do that. So,
Yeah, and when it's scheduled, the date will be posted in advance,
Mhm.
probably on the app or the website and on the sign.
Mhm.
So we just encourage everyone to come to that.
And we have it here. It's either in the back room where everybody can come and sit along the walls, or if we think there's going to be a lot of people, we'll have it out here. We'll accommodate. Honestly, it's not real official. I mean, it's kind of a go around, just don't talk over each other, but we beg people to come and have some input, because honestly, what we've done so far has been 3 of us spending too many hours, talking with administration and other people individually, because we can't talk to more than one at a time. So having the public input would be great. And we listen. I think we've had more township residents come to our meetings than we have village residents, quite honestly. And we're fine with that, because our decisions do affect township residents. Even though you're not our constituents and we don't technically represent you, we still want to be good neighbors. So we will make sure that it's out there. I might actually go against everything in my being and put a Facebook post personally, or maybe I'll send it to Scott to put in the Commercial Point Forum to make sure it's there, so I don't get all the hate that would come my way for posting a meeting. That's all I got.
Okay, thank you. Okay, up next is our public comments. When you come to the podium, you'll have 5 minutes to speak. Like I said, you've got 5 minutes, and the council will not take or answer any questions at that time. This is strictly for the public to have a chance to speak to the council. Up first, and when you come up to the podium, we ask you give your name and your address. Up first, we have Susie Fox.
Hello. I appreciate the job I'm Susie Fox, and I'm gonna give my address. That was 12475 Gibson. So I appreciate the job you guys do. I know, it's not all fun. And I've never been on Facebook, so I'm not one of your crazy putting information out there. I don't even know how to navigate it. So, but I do live on Gibson Road, and I am concerned about the proposed development. With it being so big, I'm concerned about the schools because they are already struggling. They're waiting to see if they get their bond passed, a 30-year bond. I have no clue whether that bond would be able to handle the influx of that number of children that housing development or all of that create. Obviously, Gibson Road is not structured to handle the kind of traffic that would create. There are other housing developments in this community that aren't full, that have empty lots, homes that are available. You said development's inevitable. It'd be nice not to have giant subdivisions. It'd be nice to have a continuation of what's already there. Larger lots, less structure. I didn't move my family here 18 years ago because I wanted a Dublin or a Grove City. We wanted the country. We like being close to Columbus with lots of activities, but having a small community. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, up next, we have Elizabeth Fleming.
Good evening, Elizabeth Fleming. I live at 11729 Gibson Road. We built our house about 2 years ago on family land that's been there for about 200 years. I appreciate all the job that you all are doing. Trust me, I understand government. I just retired from the military after 21 years.
Great service.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm glad to hear that there are some resolutions with sewer, water, those kinds of things. You kind of stole most of what I wanted to say about concerns. What the things that we didn't hear was snow removal, Gibson Road. I run on that road, I walk on that road, and trust me, it is not built for 2 cars to go safely. It's not even safe for 1 car to pass safely. The school system, I have 2 children within the school system. Again, this is a beautiful area. The school system is amazing. I just retired from Miami, Florida. I can tell you this is a very big difference, but that's why we moved here. So inviting another 1,200 residents to live in that very compact area, it just reminds me of where I just came from. And I'm not very happy about that. It's great to hear that the police are doing a great job here because of the space that we have to be able to do that and not having overcrowdedness. So I would just urge that those very important things take into consideration when these things are voted upon and decided upon.
Thank you. Up next, we have Cody Brewer.
Hi, everyone. I'm Cody Brewer. I'm part of the HOA at Walker Point at 426 Alberta Drive in Walker Point. It was actually previously discussed, the ditch clearing. I own property that backs up to that ditch. This was started, I believe, October-ish of last year.
Yeah, okay.
We keep getting told it's going to get cleaned up. It's going to get cleaned up. It is yet to be cleaned up. I understand it is wet right now. We had a community cleanup just 2 weeks ago. The creek was almost bone dry at that point. Besides the, I'll get to that in a second. There are several areas in the creek that are still backed up, even with the floods we've had in the last week. There are still areas where we were told, first of all, we were told that debris in the creek is what would be cleaned up. That is not the case. It was absolutely mutilated. The entire bit of privacy any of the homes along the creek had is now completely gone, which has many of my constituents and neighbors upset. We've also heard rumblings of possible walking trail being put through there. That's a different issue, I'm assuming. But I want to know when that is going to be cleaned up. I operate the budget for our HOA. Our mowing company is going to start charging us because there is so much debris in the way. And as I said, this started in October. It is now May, and it is yet to be completely cleaned up. I want to know if there's anything that can be done in the expedited process. I get the wetness. I understand all that. But there's also a broken sidewalk that will have to be repaired from the equipment that was there. There are still ruts in numerous people's yards and our common areas. I just want to know when this is going to be cleaned up. I've had hundreds of complaints from everybody who lives in that, and I feel helpless because there's nothing I can do, and I don't want to take any of that damage out of our HOA budget. It's very limited as it is. So I'm just asking that we get that expedited and cleaned up as it was promised nearly 6 months ago, actually over 6 months.
Has Mike Struckman contacted you?
He has contacted me, and all I keep hearing is, oh, we'll get it cleaned up, we'll get it cleaned up. Well, there's no results.
I'll be with me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Up next is Greg Kozar.
One letter away from Greg. Greg was an S.
Oh, thanks. I can change.
My name is Greg Kozar. I live at 196 Chestnut Commons Drive. My concern is safety. I was here, I think it was approximately a year ago. I even drew up a little map. Nothing's been done.
Really?
No, I got no phone calls. I gave my number out. I don't say this jokingly, but the only way to stop these people is to roll a ball in front of the car when they blow up the stop sign. We have a lot of children on that street. Blood is gonna be on somebody's hands someday if something isn't done. I guarantee you, if you put a police officer in front of my house and he counts the number of people that blow through that stop sign, you'll probably pay some of your budget for the year. I mean, I'm not joking, that's how many people. I'm just asking you again, the only reason it's brought to mind is because of recent Facebook activity, what's been going on over there, which I won't get to. So please, somebody look into it, call me, come visit me. You know, you have my address. I live right there by the stop sign, so thank you.
I did bring up the pond earlier.
All right.
We've also been waiting almost a year.
Okay, all right. I was gonna talk about the pond issue. You brought it up earlier.
Yeah.
I do have a picture of the recent damage that was done. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And up next is Corey Wasmus.
It's been beaten enough. I don't know if I should speak tonight or not. But yeah, my name is Corey Wasmus. Speaking on behalf of Taze Valley Against Overgrowth, something you wouldn't have heard of over a week ago. But it's just in the last week.
What's the address?
What's your address?
12491 Gibson Road.
That's my, your new one.
Oh my goodness. I grew up there. This one is still on the thing. I grew up in this house. Wow, that's
That would be funny.
12930 Gibson Road. Leave it to an attorney to correct me the first sentence. But, anyway, I won't speak too long. My name is Corey Wasmus. I live at 12930 Gibson Road. I'm speaking on behalf of Taze Valley Against Overgrowth. Like I said, that's a name you wouldn't have heard of a week ago. It was birthed out of all this mess. And it's grown to nearly 800 members. Those are all local people right here. Inundated with private messages. When I get home from work, I got to start answering messages. And a lot of times I don't get to everybody that day. Somebody mentioned whether you would have enough people to step up to run for council. There'll be no shortage of that. I can guarantee that. I've already been asked by many people. A lot of people don't know how to run for public office. They don't even know where to start. They don't even know where to pull their petition, how to get signatures, how many they need. And they want to run. They're well qualified, but they need a helping hand how to do that. So that's another kind of thing I think we could definitely help. But I'll cut right to the chase. You know, I wasn't expecting to get browbeat tonight, to be honest with you. I've heard from almost, with the exception of Andrea, everybody that spoke, that we're pretty much ignorant. You know, the public doesn't understand. I heard that how many times? You just don't understand how government works. I guarantee you that's been said a lot from government officials and a lot of politicians. You just don't understand how government works. No, we do understand how government works. That's why everybody's here tonight. Most of the people. And that's what everybody's been talking about. It's easy to see it. You know, we do understand. We know exactly how this process went. There has been backroom meetings. It's been admitted by some of your own council members that they've been barred out of those meetings to discuss with the developer. I know the script has been attempted to be flipped tonight, but this was not a transparent thing. This wasn't something right out in the open. One of your council members mentioned tonight that your decisions do affect township residents. And that's mostly who shows up to the meetings. Yes, it does. Don't you think there would be some kind of effort to let the township know what's going on here? Besides your own private website or your own private app, nobody in that township checking your website regularly. But anyway, back to kind of what happened here. I just want to run through that real quick. Like I said, I'm not going to take long. You had an April 7th agenda listed. It was for the first reading only, with no warning that council would vote to waive the readings and immediately pass your resolution that night. The only reason I even obtained the agenda was through a public records request. And to your credit, you answered quickly. You sent that right over. Your fiscal officer done a great job on that front. But worse, that agenda that was sent to me only vaguely referred to this property as 344 acres. Now everybody knows what that is. They've seen that number. But prior to this going on, they wouldn't know what that meant. Everybody knows that property by the Struckman property. And that's how you've always relayed that in your agendas, and every time you talk about it has been the Struckman property. And that's nothing against the man who struck me. It's just, that's how you know the property. So if that was listed on that agenda, 344 acres, nobody would have known what you're talking about. Even during the live stream, you watch it back, several of your council members were visibly confused, and the mayor had to clarify saying this is the Struckman property. Even if council members didn't know what they were voting on for the agenda, how could the public have known? There's one thing government, any size, is good at doing, and that's rewriting history. Tell us what we don't know, what we don't understand. It's just the way government works. This way we've always done it. I'm a construction guy. But I know if I'm telling somebody they're doing something wrong, and they say, well, that's the way we've always done it, that doesn't make it right. We keep doing it that way. Well, we've always passed some emergency. We've used the emergency language. It's type 2 annexation. We got to do it. We got this much time. We have to do it. No, you don't. Even tonight mentioned that there's a way, but it would take 3 months, having 3 different readings. But everyone on this council voted.
So that's your 5 minutes.
To do away with those readings. So,
Okay.
but yeah, it's not over tonight. I mean, obviously, the main way of communicating is on Facebook. By everybody, keep following along, keeping this effort up. Appreciate your time.
Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on. Up next, business items we have here this evening. First item is a conditional use request for 25 Harsh Alley. Bruce, would you have anything to add to this, or does council have any questions?
I have a question I want to ask Bill. So when I was looking over the way it's written back from Mr. Hill's attorney, it doesn't mention that he's going to agree not to seek any retro payment for the land that the village had but never compensated him. Can that be added, that the village couldn't be held liable by Mr. Hill himself if he felt that we took that 16 feet or whatever and he wasn't compensated, so that we couldn't be sued later?
Yeah, we had talked about just putting it into whatever corrective deed we need to.
So do we need to make a motion to that, or can we adopt it how it was since you guys already spoke of it?
No, we need to have a real estate document that gets recorded that takes care of that.
Yeah, our intent is to put that into the corrective deed. If not part of the conditional use permit, but into the corrective deed that would grant the property that the village would have to approve as a condition precedent to the conditional use be approved.
So we could pass it as it is tonight in front of us? Or we wouldn't have to make a motion for any of that stuff in what's in front of us tonight, correct?
Correct. That's going to be a deed that gets recorded.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Did anyone have any questions about the bullet pointed, conditions we were adding to the conditional use?
No, I'd like to make a motion to approve the conditional use.
I had.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize.
I know this will come later in zoning, but I wanted to ask you, anybody that doesn't know, this is regarding the firehouse, the old firehouse. The conditional use to be a daycare. So just so you all know that. They're gonna make, First Street a two-way, just for them, and they'll just go in a loop and come around, so it will not bother any of the residents up on Harsh. Just wanted to make that clear. We have been talking about this, but if you have not been to your meeting, maybe you didn't know. What is the idea with the garage there?
So as of right now, I believe they're looking at just storage in general. There's a chance it may come down at some point for expanded play space or something of that nature, but for now, I think it's just storage.
Okay, and if, I assume the playground will be back in that corner somewhere?
I think they're still working on where the
Still working
layout's
on where
going to
that
be.
is.
There's
That'll come in
potentially
the
interior,
next part.
potentially, could be in the back, but yeah, they're looking at where the play space is going to be, make the most sense and also be safe for kids.
And we did not have any constituents come in and complain about this. So with that, I will second your motion.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor to approve the conditional use with the 4 bullet points that were distributed.
Right.
That motion was by Eric.
Yes.
We have a second by Nancy. Roll call vote.
Jay,
Yes.
Andrea,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Nancy,
Yes.
Eric.
Yes.
Motion passed. Second item we have under business items is the Scioto Township Fire Department accessory structure fee waiver. The Scioto Township Fire Department is currently building an accessory structure out behind their new firehouse. Typically, there is a charge from the village for a permit fee for that. And typically, the council generally waives the fees for fire departments, townships, schools, churches, community organizations. That's been done in the past. So at this point in time, do we have a motion to waive the fees for the Scioto Township Fire Department accessory structure permit fee?
Motion.
We have a motion by Audrea. Is there a second? Second by Jay. Roll call vote to adopt.
Nancy,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Andrea,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
Jay.
Yes.
Motion passed. Next item up is the RETA delinquency program. This is something we typically get once a year. RETA wants to know if we want them, if the village wishes to participate in the subpoena program. RETA will send out subpoenas to people who are delinquent on their taxes. They handle all of that, so the village does not handle or get involved in any of that. There is a fee associated with that, and currently that fee is $1 per person, per subpoena.
$1.
Do we have a motion to adopt?
Adopt. So moved.
We have a motion by Ross
Second.
to participate in the subpoena program. We have a second by Eric. Roll call vote to adopt.
Andrea,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Nancy.
Yes.
Motion passed. Next item up is Lincoln Properties. That's lot 12 out at the Rickenbacker Exchange. They have, I believe this is the last lot out there that's available for sale over there. All the other ones have went through this. We did a meet and greet with them. They came in, Mr. Scala brought them in there and we talked to them a little bit. And now they'd like to come and do a presentation for the council.
Now, this is the furthest north that fronts to 104?
Yeah.
Okay. Is it like a pie shape?
Yeah, there'll be a diagram here for you to review. So Mayor, thank you very much for that introduction. Today, I'm here on behalf of the property company. With me is their Vice President, Dan Reedy, and we're here to discuss and present to you prior to filing our major site plan for construction on lot 12. Again, this isn't our major site plan application. The major site plan application will come shortly, but we wanted to make sure that the council wasn't cold when they saw it and make sure you have an opportunity. I've handed you 3 documents today. I'm not going to go through these in detail. It's more for your light reading when you get home. The first is just going to be an overview. I know this is the first time that Lincoln Property Company is coming into the village, and there are obviously things you want to know before you start to partner with someone. Again, Dan Reedy's here next to me. You'll notice in the packet that they are a nationwide successful company. This isn't a fly-by-night operation. That's not what the Scala family has ever brought into the village. They are continuing with bringing in top-tier developers to make sure that the partnerships with the village are lasting and that what is built there is going to, in the long term, ensure the financial success of not only the village but the school district. So, with that said, the second document that you'll see is a site plan. The current proposed building out there is for approximately 155,000 square feet. It's not the largest lot out there. It's a small lot. It's got a bit of an odd shape. So you'll see that we're not occupying the entire site of the building. We're not trying to cram in as many square feet as possible. The far north section is currently intended to be an outdoor storage site, so take note of that as you're looking through the documents. And on the very last page, you'll see that we have a current rendering of what we anticipate the outside and the exterior of that building to look like. Again, just go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. I'll just ask at the end. Maybe you'll answer it.
Oh, no worries. Again, this isn't the major site plan application. We anticipate filing that in the next couple of days. That'll have the full landscape package, that'll have all of the elevations, all of the technical drawings that you've used to see for the major site plan. And the village will then have their 60-day window to review that and to go through that process, to come back with us to feedback. If there are things that you think need amended, changed, obviously we'll be willing to take those comments and do what we can to accommodate any interest the village has in that. With that said, and maybe you have a lot tonight, so any questions?
Yes. Oh, yes, I do. Outdoor storage. I know this is not your major site plan, but outdoor storage is concerning to me on a looks basis. I know that everybody has their desire on how things are hidden or displayed. What kind of things can you say generally will be stored out there? And is there a way to make it look nice from the public's perspective, so that way it's not like an eyesore of just a giant parking lot of like bins or, you know, whatever?
To be completely transparent, this is a spec-built building, so we do not know exactly what would be stored in that area.
So this is built to suit?
No, spec-built, which means it's built and then they come and they find a tenant once.
Oh, so these guys aren't going to be the people that
They
just built
develop
it?
it, and then it's just like the Bath and Body Works
Yeah.
warehouse that was out there, right? It wasn't Bath and
Okay.
Body Works when Van Trust built it. They build it, and if you build it, they will come. And so you build a top-tier facility, top-tier people come in to fill that facility. So that's what we anticipate. This will be a Class A space. Someone will come in and utilize that space. We're not exactly sure what it will be, but obviously the major site plan will show the screening and buffering that will go all around the outside periphery of that. And we will do our best to screen that from 104 using buffers.
Okay, thank you.
Have you prepared them that we're going to want a lot of screening with the
Yeah.
unknown of the end user of that outdoor storage?
I think the answer is asked that I mentioned that once or twice.
Well, I mean, I don't want anything to come up. We're going to
Yeah.
probably ask for a bunch of trees and a bunch of screening.
I think all people, Bruce is most familiar with that.
Bruce is very familiar.
He probably talked to Matt and said, "Are you sure you want to deal with these people?"
Yeah.
But with that said, yes,
Yeah.
we do anticipate screening, obviously. So Structure Point is the team that's behind doing a lot of the
Yeah.
landscape design and the engineering in general. We've seen their work before. They're familiar with the village. They're also familiar with what the village needs and kind of interests are. So I don't anticipate there being a lot of hurdles there. All of that should be incorporated from the last several buildings that we put together for you guys.
Is this a all hands on deck moving forward very quickly build, or is this a slow burn build?
So it's going to be an all hands on deck, move pretty quickly kind of thing. So obviously, we're trying to make sure that we come early enough in the time frame so that we can meet your timetables without having to ask for those extra meetings or those sorts of things. Our goal will be that the major site plan will actually be filed on Wednesday, which is going to be May 7th. There's a 60-day review window once that completed application comes in pursuant to the village zoning code. That 60-day window puts us on your July 7th meeting. We did that so we wouldn't have to ask for extra meetings or try to get it done early. Once that happens and we have a decision there, if it's approved, then it will go to technical review. Technical review has as long as they need to make sure that we get the engineering completed and everything is put together to what council has requested of us. So that can take 4 to 6 months. We're hoping for much shorter. We'll go as fast, and I've already spoken to Susan and John, and we're going to make sure that we get our reviews turned around very quickly so that the village can take their time with them, so that we can try to make that process as seamless as possible.
So we don't have any deadlines on your part in this one that we'll need to meet and try to push anything through with any waiving or anything. You don't have any deadlines for financing or anything like that you see right now?
No, I mean, we do have deadlines. We're trying to make sure we meet them. So assuming
Okay.
that, I already spoke with Jim, we met with him to make sure that our application is going to be complete on the day that we submit it to him. Assuming he doesn't throw up any red flags on our application, then the 60-day window that we need to meet for our major site plan approval would come in time for us to meet our deadlines. So again, trying to make sure we're here early enough to accommodate that. Now, that's assuming that there's no issues and that there's enough council members for every reading and those sorts of things, and there aren't any reasons during the summer, people get sick, there's vacations, et cetera. Sometimes meetings don't happen. If that were to happen, I may have to come ask for something. We're going to cross our fingers and hope that it doesn't.
Shocker. That's all.
Does anybody have anything else for Bruce at this time?
No.
Very straightforward.
Thank you very
Thanks,
much. We
Bruce.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bruce. Next item up on the agenda is the designated outdoor refreshment area application. I know this was probably discussed briefly at the committee of the whole meeting. I've looked into the process, and the process of doing a DORA district is in a village, the mayor has to submit an application to the village, required to submit an application to the village council. So that being said, tonight, there's your application. What happens the next step, if council has any interest in moving forward, is this has to be posted in the paper within 45 days of the application being submitted to the council.
Is that considered tonight?
Yep.
Okay.
So within the next, if council wishes to move forward, and like, if council doesn't wish to move forward, we can just, I'll withdraw the application and we're done with it.
Are we charging a fee for the application?
I'm the one who submitted it, so no.
We're not waiving.
So this would have to appear in the paper within the next 45 days of today. The next step is then council would decide no sooner than 30 days or no later than 60 days after it has appeared in the newspaper.
Okay.
So if
we have
it
to
went
hold a
into,
public hearing on it?
yes,
Oh, okay.
or I need to double check. I think there is a public hearing on that. Yes,
I didn't know if that's what the 30 and 60 days was.
I believe that's it. We schedule a public hearing with that. I believe. I'll double check on that.
Okay.
So anyway, there would be possibly a public hearing, and I'm pretty sure there is. And then, like I said, council would have to make a decision within that 30 to 60 day period after it appeared in the newspaper.
Alan, I when I looked at it, the only issue that I see is, to my knowledge, and if you can correct me if I'm wrong, for DORA, the streets have to be closed, which would mean no vehicular travel because it's a
That's
M4.
not correct.
It is not.
They do doors up in Grove City with the streets open.
They do?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
at the food
Right
truck
on
fest.
where they do their, on Route 3
Okay.
or Broadway.
Okay.
They do doors up there.
Columbus,
Only,
Westerville,
well, Columbus is, if the street's closed, like on Town Street, there's no vehicular traffic.
Columbus, Westerville.
Okay.
All street traffic.
Okay.
So the streets do not have to be closed. And you'll notice in here, what I tied this into with is the only time, this isn't just an open door for the
Right,
whole
they have to be
summer or
approved,
anything
right.
like that. This would only be approved. Any door event would have to come in front of council. And I would think that the council would want to make sure the streets are closed if we did a door. I would highly recommend for us that we did that.
I guess that's my thing. If the streets are closed, we take away all the parking for that area. That I guess I didn't say it correctly, but for safety's purposes, where are we going to park everybody?
Where do you park them during the food truck festival?
Well,
People walk.
Where do we park them during the car show in the summer with the live concert in August?
I don't. I mean, they usually
we-
park the church or their shuttles.
Wherever
I mean,
you
they
find
park
it.
out here and we.
It would be,
shuttle,
it would be the same thing. Like I said, this, if council went to this, I would suggest it only be done during special events.
Yeah.
And the special events would involve a street closure in the center of town.
Yeah.
And
I
all
would-
of them would come in front of the council. And it's just
I would
because
agree.
if you're having a special event in the center of town, maybe they don't wish to have a DORA exercise during that time, and council, and whoever, whatever type of event it could be. I could see, if throwing it out there, if the church wanted to do something special in the center of town, they probably wanted to close the streets, but they wouldn't probably want beer sold. I would totally get that, and they could say,
maybe wine.
they could come to the council and request a special event and say, but we don't want to use the door. So I think the DORA would be granted based on, or be part of the application for the street closures that come in front of council. You just have a box that they would check if they would like to exercise the DORA district.
And here it says, on page 3, the DORA will primarily be used for special events. That should read only.
Yes.
Okay, well, this, like I said, this is just kind of like an application. There would be, if council would go with this, there's legislation that would have to be presented. And that's where the whereas and shalls and everything else will be included with that kind of stuff.
Now, this would not meet the beginning of our bike nights if I just did my calendar correctly. So the first one wouldn't be able to be under this one with that timeline if I'm June, yeah, because it'd be like August, I think. And then unless we do it with an emergency, it's going to be 30 days.
I don't think this constitutes an emergency.
No, I want to think that out loud because I know our point was so that some of these could be handled with the music away from areas that get hit with it multiple times. And for this year, this unfortunately wouldn't, the timeline wouldn't work because of what process we have to go through. So,
Well, and I said, I'd spoke with Mallory at Beck's Bar, and I asked her if we had a door in place, would she put the concerts in the center of town versus back behind the bar? She said, yes, she would, but if the door wasn't in place, she wasn't going to, with the exception of the last one. She is planning on doing the final one in the center of town with the street closure. But the other three, if a door isn't in place, she said it doesn't work for her.
well, no, because they want to sell
I would certainly.
spirits liquor.
So that was kind of like her comment to that. So like I said, this is the first step. If council's interested in moving forward, we will get something put in the paper and legislation drawn up. If council's not interested, I'll be more than happy to withdraw the application.
I'd like
Have
to,
we,
I'd like to move forward and see what the public says.
Have we, yeah, I'd like to see
What
the public, but have we
Well-
been in contact with the church to see
I
if,
mean,
you know, because we're saying they could park there,
Well, we didn't say they could park
No,
there.
because we have to do a public
I
hearing.
did not say that.
but it's
He
been
asked-
brought up, they can park,
That's
you
where
know,
they've been parking.
so I don't know.
I mean, every time we do a food truck
I mean,
festival in the
I guess
center
they
of
could
town,
put ropes around and say no parking.
or they could charge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
To be
Yeah.
quite honest,
Yeah.
they could start charging $5 a car.
Yeah.
And
But anyway, that's,
Yeah.
Do you intend on having an officer down there the whole time? And if so, who will be paying for that?
that would have to be determined by the council.
And I think that probably if they check the door, that would be where we would probably want to have the chief or somebody look at it to see their numbers, to see if maybe he even thinks that he needs to dedicate somebody.
Yeah.
I mean, that way if they want to do that, they have to understand that is for their profit. So it might cost them money, but we'll have, whoever we want to look at it for waste receptacles, whether that be Jim or whomever, and then the chief should probably look at the doors also from their standpoint. Do you think that's fair to think about going forward if we would move forward with it?
Yeah, I mean, it would definitely, you'd want to have the input from the police department.
Yeah.
Yes, oh, yeah.
I mean,
I would like to have the public hearing and see what the public has to say, but I do think it's definitely worth looking into.
I think we need
So
to
if it's in the
change it.
paper, if you submit the application, it'll be in the paper, you said for how long?
the application has to appear in the paper within 45 days.
And that's to give the public time to to respond or to call a village or
Well, he said he thinks we have to have a
I
public
think
hearing.
there was a public hearing, so I think it would
Okay.
have to be in the paper, and after it's put in the paper for 30 days, we would have the public hearing be
Okay.
scheduled. That would be what would be put in the paper, I believe.
Okay.
So we'd probably just do a special public hearing meeting before the regular meeting like normal.
Yep.
Okay, yeah. I
We
mean,
should
I'm all
probably
for,
change our, I think we should change our street, we were talking about at the county, change our street closure to add like food trucks, so we know if they're having food trucks, there could be a box for
A whole
Dora,
checklist, yeah.
things like that.
I think get this
Put that
where
on
we
the
can have
cal-
the entertainment in the middle of town. I would support that.
Okay. Well, I will go ahead.
Yeah.
I should say our fiscal officer will go ahead and get this in the paper.
because that's finance.
That was
Finance.
And we'll start the ball rolling on that then.
And will you send us an email if you find out if there definitely is a public
Yes.
hearing or not? So if people reach out to us, we can let them know.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm pretty sure there is.
I thought there was too. That's why I mentioned it, but I can't remember 100%.
And when
Okay.
it's scheduled, we'll put it on the app.
There we go. Legislation, there is none for this evening.
Wow.
Pending administrative action, there is none for this evening. Additional business. I would just say after hearing some of the public comments tonight and so on, it was brought up about the Tays Valley against overgrowth. I would highly suggest, or I would ask, and I don't know, but I would suggest, you've come to our council meetings and on Facebook. Have you discussed this at South Bloomfield council meetings? And has this been discussed at the Asheville council meetings and so on and so forth? They have put in more front doors over the past 4 years than Commercial Point has.
Yeah.
They have been the target of growth, not Commercial Point. So I would just say that those are some things that you might want to also consider. I mean, they've put in I don't know what, a couple hundred apartments in South Bloomfield,
Oh,
and a
yeah,
couple
more
hundred
than that,
apartments
yeah.
in Asheville.
At least.
New
So-
housing development.
And new housing developments along the way with all that stuff. So there is more front doors have been put in the past 4 years in those two villages than instead of ours. So I would recommend looking at that. Does council have any additional business?
I would like to address what Greg Kozar brought up about the speeding in the neighborhood. I thought for sure we had something discussed when he was in here last about having a stop sign or something, but
Yeah.
I really want to encourage.
There was
us-
stripes put down on the
Stripes.
streets, yes.
So
There
it
was
sounds
painting was
like it's
completed.
not doing its job. Can we, you're kind of the main man in front of the police. Can we look into that,
I
please?
can,
Because
I
I'm
can say
very
something. And
concerned.
typically, and I will tell you, typically what will happen, we set an officer over there,
Everybody
Yeah.
shows.
everyone stops.
Yeah.
We set the officer down the street trying to peek around the corner.
They'll
If they
still-
see him, they stop. If the officer in there, they blow through the signs. Although we will try that again.
Is there anything else we can do? Because I understand
There's
that
a sign.
concern.
There's a stripe on the road.
I know.
There's a crosswalk. I mean, you're at the point, maybe go talk to the neighbors who's doing it. Because obviously that's a court, I believe, isn't it?
I'm not,
And with that being a court, it's all the neighbors that living there are the ones blowing through the stop sign.
Was the mayor's the cut through.
Yeah, it's two common
yeah,
roads.
it's
Okay.
not. Yeah.
It's usually, there's one car that you see all the
Like
time.
23 does.
Is there
Yeah.
any way to put, I know we talked about it, and I cannot remember, can we do like a speed bump there instead?
That's a road clearing.
I
Yeah.
know, but.
You're
I
doing
mean,
a speed bump at a stop sign?
No, okay, all right, no, I'm not doing it at the stop sign. I'm doing it before the stop sign as people are revving up. Come on,
Come on.
you're on the list.
We can work with you. I don't know if speed bumps are the answer for every place in the village where there's
No,
speeding.
but that's like the major one, and for him to have to come back
Well,
a year
that's-
later, I'm concerned,
I
that's all.
won't, and I understand that's the major one for him.
I haven't brought up mine, and I could over on Edmonds, they
Yeah.
speed in front of mine all
And
the
we
time.
have a lot of that. And like I said, when the officers are out, we have asked that the officers basically hit every street in the village when they're out on patrol.
Okay,
And we go back and check the GPS. I personally have looked at where the officers are. I'll pull up for 8 hours. Where has he been? And I got a layout of every street that he's hitting 8 hours. And if he's only hitting 104 and 762, I'm at the chief's office saying, what's going on?
so
So they are driving through the neighborhoods, but once again, it's,
well, can if I could, I would like to say thank you very much for reviewing their GPS, because I know a lot of people think that they just sit certain places. And if you are doing what you say, and I believe you, because I have no reason not to trust what you've said, thank you for reviewing that and making sure they are doing their patrols. I
generally,
appreciate
that's my lunch at my desk, because I pull up their GPS the night before and I see where they've all went.
It's not very exciting.
All right, that was my thing, just
So just to
concern
let
for
you know.
kids.
Well, I'm laughing
Thank you.
because I've heard the comments. So.
I
But
just had one thing. I wanted to respond to Susie Fox and Elizabeth regarding the traffic on Gibson. If and when this ever, which commissioners voted down, it comes in, they have to do a traffic study, and then ODOT comes in and says, you got to do all this. I think last time it was over $1 million worth of infrastructure they were going to have to do.
21 million.
Yeah, it was
It
20
was
plus.
21 million.
Was it
is what
21?
they
Okay,
did.
it's
They
been
had
a
a
long
one
time. 21 million of infrastructure, and snow removal, that is in what we say we can provide them as services when we send that down there. So of course that would be for that development, because it would be in the village. So I just wanted to
Yeah, for those type of developments that come in under a planned planned development,
Yeah.
they have, traffic studies are required. And yes, Gibson Road cannot handle it now. We definitely would not be doing anything to Gibson Road right now because it's not even in the village, so the village isn't going to fix a township road.
Right.
Once something like that, if it was ever approved by the village, traffic study is part of the submissions. Once they look at that and they determine what has to be done. That's on the developer's dime to fix it, whether it's widen all of Gibson Road, whether it's turn lanes,
Right.
and whatever else is required. That is pointed out in the traffic study, and then the developer pays for that. On the other side of the coin, I will say, I guess this wasn't, I thought everyone was aware of this. The first time this was applied, like I said, this last time was the third time. The first time they applied for this development, they offered the school land to put a high school in. And the school turned it down. The school said, we don't need a high school at this time. So land was offered by the developer to the school, and they turned it down. So I don't know if everyone's aware of that. So that's why it's no longer in the plans.
In addition to the whole harmless clause.
Yep. So that was part of the whole deal the first time around. So those are just some of the things that go on that a lot of people aren't aware of that's taken place and has happened. The only other thing I've got is remind everybody, tomorrow's election day, be sure and get out and vote.
Yes.
Thank you.
So with that being said,
Can I-
is there any other additional business?
Is there any way that we could get Bricker or whoever it would be to come in and talk to us about starting an NCA for future stuff?
Still mine.
I mean, because I'm sure that's who we would probably
It's
hire,
been
right?
saying
But
it
would be
forever.
Bricker because we have a relationship with them,
Most expensive one.
or whomever.
Yeah,
Can we have somebody come in and talk to council about the benefits of an NCA? Because I mean, I still don't. I mean, Mayor, I ask you all the time, what are these three letters? What, so I can keep them straight.
Community
What's an NCA again?
That's the one where money goes in.
It's a new community authority.
Yeah.
All right.
Because I do. Huh?
I mean, I'd be happy to entertain the idea.
But I mean, to have, because we had talked about it in, I think, our January, February cow meeting, that we wanted to look into doing one of those. At the same time, we talked about doing a beautification of downtown or something.
And that was part of the thing with that development that just got turned down. There definitely was going to be an NCA involved in that. Well, now that that's been turned down by the commissioners, that if council wants to really still hear about an NCA,
That's why I brought
we
it up.
can, we can bring that back and
Get it.
possibly schedule something for our committee of the whole meeting.
Yeah, I
Just
mean, so
kind of
that way
go
we
over it,
know.
let everyone explain. And maybe that'd be the time to run over how a TIF works and how a CRA works once again also for
Yeah.
everybody.
Do you wanna explain about, TIF, what is it saying, developers need to pay their part? Do you wanna explain any of that?
How about how much the schools get?
Oh, like all the pilot payments for 167 million to the schools? Those, all the TIF funds?
I don't care to do that this evening, the night before their vote.
Yeah.
Motion to adjourn.
I have a motion to adjourn by
Second.
Eric. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Jay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. This meeting is adjourned.
Second, third, fourth, whatever it takes.
Baby.